Hey everybody, I'm back again with another video. This time I'm testing my 100-watt DIY flashlight. I'm going to be testing the heat, the voltage, the runtime, the battery performance. But first, let's test those lumens. Let's go! Okay, so here's my ragtag way to test lumens. I've got a light meter, and I got my light, and I just put the receiver end of the light meter inside this big cardboard box, and I cut out a door in it so I could stick the flashlight in there. So right now I have 0 lumens. I'm gonna stick that open, and I'm going to turn on my flashlight, stick it in the door. Now obviously it's not perfect, but I'm getting close to 800 lumens with the voltage being at 30 volts. Now I can go all the way to 37 volts and probably drive this thing even more, but I'm not 100% sure I want to do that. So between 700 and 770 lumens. So I know it's not totally scientific, but how I decided to test this was set up the flashlight while it's turned on, put a barbecue thermometer against the location in which the chip and the heatsink fan were touching, and at the same time I have a LED readout on my flashlight itself, so I could see when the voltage starts to drop and then see what it goes to when it loses power completely. So it'll actually turn itself off once it reaches a certain voltage. So you have to play the waiting game. So I walked away for a little bit and allowed the batteries to run down a little bit more, and all the time I am reading the calculations off of the thermometer to get a general reading. I tried it in a few different spots, and wanted to see if there were any hot spots on the fan or if the thermal cooling was doing good. Now I'm using a CPU fan along with the heatsink, so it was keeping it relatively cool. I mean, it was warm to the touch, but nothing that would burn my hands or anything. Okay, so I'm going to meter all of the batteries since they're in series and see what the total voltage is. And then after that, I'm going to take each one out individually and meter each one to see if there are any weak links or if they all have the same voltage. So 9.2 volts. That's good. That's what it got down to. Like I thought it would. And I think so good that it started off at around 12 or 13 volts, so it dropped 4 volts in that time period. Just meter each one now. Let's see which one gave up the ghost the most. So batteries are a little warm, obviously, from being used. Okay. So this one's at 3.1, which is perfect. You don't want them to drop below 3 volts. So that one's 3.1. This one
this one's not so perfect. This one's at 2.5. 2.5 for this one. So that might be a weak link. That one definitely dropped more than the rest of them. Yeah, we'll see. 3.2. These two performed well. This one dropped the lowest and gave up first. Which means that I might not want to put this one back in this pack. Now, how I have this thing killing itself or turning itself off is, since it has a buck converter and it brings itself up, it's got to exceed a certain amount of voltage to remain on, and since it dropped below that voltage, it turned itself off. I believe it's 27 volts, and it will shut itself off. It will not produce any more light, and then you know to turn it off. Now, this is an extreme case. I mean, you're probably not going to want to have your flashlight like running solid all the time on for, 15 minutes, but we'll see how long the video was, and then I can tell you how long the average could last. But I'm going to test it a couple more times.
Okay, so let's run down some numbers. The flashlight itself ran for 13 minutes and 18 seconds. It got up to about 81 degrees, maybe 82, and the, I guess, voltage drop on the batteries went from 12.2 or 3 to about 9 volts. So that's a 3 voltage drop. The only problem is that one of the batteries dropped more than the other two. So that's unacceptable. I'm going to swap out that battery. I'm pretty sure they're just not balanced, and that's why it did that. Obviously, I'm not going to run a flashlight for 13 minutes straight, usually, especially this one. This is more like a camping flashlight. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed this Schoenhofer. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's pretty funny, but it's a Hefeweizen, and it's a grapefruit Hefeweizen. Highly recommended whenever you're watching videos. That's my video. Thanks for watching. I'm going to get the tech out of here. Thanks again.